Well, hello again. It's Stewart Payne here with another wonderful story. This one is called Necks Out for Adventure. This was written and illustrated by the very talented Basil Ering, and it's the story of a little clam. We're going to call them Wiggleskins. But a little guy who lives in a shell just under the sand on the edge of the ocean. And check out this beautiful picture of an ocean wave. Man, I wish I could draw like that. So here we go. Necks out for adventure. For as long as anyone could remember, the Wiggleskins could not leave the mud. While the currents flowed back and forth over their heads, they all lived by a simple system. Rule 1, necks out to eat, and necks in to hide. And that is how it always was. Until one day when a young Wiggleskin named Edwin asked his mom a very big question. Hey Mom, what would happen if we flowed with the current? Well, the other Wiggleskins laughed, but Edwin's mom held him close and she said, "Oh, don't you let them bother you, son. You stick your neck out for adventure like you always do." But before Edwin could reply, a dark shadow fell across the Wiggleskin bed, and all the Wiggleskins fell silent as the mud began to tremble and shake, till suddenly two huge, filthy feet appeared. And worse yet, there was a terrible smell. Oh, a smell you could never forget. And that's when the Wiggleskins all screeched, "Necks in to hide!" But sadly, it was too late to hide. Soon, all the Wiggleskins were gone. Somebody's digging up clams. Well, all the Wiggleskins were gone except for one. And why Edwin was left behind, well, no one knows. Now he was dreadfully afraid. Long, lonely hours passed, but no one returned. As Edwin waited and waited, he felt the current steadily pushing against him, encouraging him to go and search for the others. But he said, "No, I can't move. I'm stuck in my shell." And that, my friends, is when Edwin thought of his mom's last words to him. "Necks out for adventure," she had said. So Edwin gathered up every bit of courage he had, and with nobody around to witness this unheard of event, he pushed and pushed on both sides of his shell until, oh boy, off it went. I think I see some internal organs and things. Edwin's skin wiggled as the water gently lifted him up and carried him away. "Mom? Dad?" he called out as he drifted over the seafloor. "Anybody?" He floated along with some other sea creatures, including this red-spotted scrintleberry leaf. But then, without warning, the force from a tremendous wave sucked Edwin's belly up over his neck, and then up, up, up he went. Until splash, splash. The big wave spit Edwin from the sea up onto the land. And for the first time ever, Edwin's toes touched dry sand. "Where am I?" Edwin asked the wave. But the wave didn't answer. It just kept curling and breaking on the shore. So Edwin decided to walk. And he walked and walked and walked until he could not take one more step under the scorching hot sun. Then, completely exhausted and delirious from the heat, Edwin flopped over face first into the sand. But then, as if in a scary dream, He smelled a smell. Yes, that same terrible smell, you know, the one he could never forget. And when he looked up, Edwin saw the truth. That stink was coming from a hideous hornly scratcher, a Wiggleskin's worst nightmare. Well, yes indeed, a scrintleberry leaf, just what I need. And with one swipe of his giant toe, the scratcher flicked the scrintleberry leaf and Edwin into his moldy sack. And then the stinky creature skipped away, whistling and singing to himself while Edwin flipped and jostled inside of the sack. And here's what he sang. Scrintleberry leaves, my favorite spice, will season up my chowder scrumptiously nice. And then, without warning, Edwin fell neck first into a cooking pot full of eel skins and fish butter and squid broth. And then Edwin heard this awful sound. Yes, the hornly scratcher was sharpening his knife. And as he sharpened his knife, he sang this horrible little song. Wiggleskins, Wiggleskins, tender and sweet. Fresh boiled Wiggleskins, my favorite treat. And that's when Edwin screamed, ah! When the scratcher heard that, he snatched Edwin up from his pot. Well, what do we have here in my stew? Why, it's a delicious Wiggleskin, already shucked out of the blue. Edwin didn't know how he'd thought of it, but suddenly he had a plan. He stretched out his neck and then, yes, he squirted that nasty old hornly scratcher right in the eye. And oh, hornly scratchers hate to be squirted in the eye. And as he fell backwards, he knocked over his pot of stew. Edwin quickly scurried for his freedom. He dashed outside off the steps around the corner of the shack, and oh my, you will never guess what stood in front of him this time. Unless you guess it was a rusted, lonely cage packed full of weeping Wiggleskins. Mom? Dad? He shouted. Edwin? They cried. Yeah, it's me, and the hornly scratcher is right behind me. He's coming to gobble us all up. And the Wiggleskins realized what they had to do. And then one by one, they shucked their shells too. And Edwin gave the command, to the shore! Run like you've never run before! Which, in fact, none of them ever had. And although they were very dry and thirsty, the Wiggleskins ran like the dickens. And then a glorious thing happened as they ran. A cloud appeared, and then it began to rain, and oh, it poured. We're gonna make it, someone said. We can do this. Come on, everybody. And they dashed across the beach. Now, the mighty ocean was glad to welcome them back. And at one time, everyone used to laugh at Edwin, but not anymore, because today they all admired him. And his phrase, "Next out for adventure," is what those brave Wiggleskins say to this very day. And I'm thinking they're going to live happily ever after. And the old hornly scratcher? What happened to all my clams? All right, thanks for dropping in today. It's been Mr. Stewart on behalf of Read 20 and the Readmobile with another story from one of my favorite books. Please come back. We will have more and more stories as long as we are working from home. Hope to see you guys in school again soon. Thanks and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.